This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, I'm calling the work session on December 21st to order. And the announcement was already made. The meeting's being recorded. No cause for public hearing, no old items of discussion for the work session I'm aware of. That said, we tabled a bunch of things from the last commissioners meeting to discuss. We'll start with the Mazda preventative maintenance discussion for the HVAC systems. And I believe Commissioner Durbin was driving that.
When she had asked for a list of all of the preventative maintenance agreements that we had, I talked with Matt and he had gotten the 2 quotes, but I'm not sure anybody ever saw them for the HVAC systems for the courthouse and over at Hickory Street.
Okay, I assume.
So as the budget discussions, this will have to be added into the budget if it is something that is needed or wanted.
Okay, the commissioners want it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely time to initiate that, so I would incorporate it into the maintenance budget. You know, part of the reason that I think that there hasn't been that much of a focus on it is this equipment was just installed, so the understanding was that we would have at least a little bit of time before we would, you know, initiate heavy duty maintenance. That said, it's definitely time to start that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to ruin our new toys.
Right, that's the important thing is, you know, just making sure it's being maintained to the best of our ability. So I'm supportive. Just pulling that out. We had a couple of options, Pam, is that correct?
There's 2, one's 8,500, the other one's 1,750 or 17,500.
Right. Has Matt weighed in on what his thoughts are as it relates to each proposal and what's necessary?
No, he is not.
Okay. Do we need him to?
Yeah, I mean, we need his opinion, but I would think at this point, the option 1 would be okay. I mean, the stuff's new. We're not going to need new compressors, heat exchangers, et cetera.
No, I agree.
And we could start with the option 1 and incorporate that, and then between now and Wednesday, get Matt's like a statement on it, and then you know, if we want to make a change on Wednesday, we could do that.
Okay, agreement there. Whenever Eric gets on, we'll make that directive. Liquid fuels. Could you describe the liquid fuel situation? I understand there was an update today.
I'm not sure what the update was. I mean, that's the amount that we were short. So they put that, I believe, from general fund into the liquid fuels account.
So I don't know if we need to. Is that something that we want to have it as a resolution to authorize the expense, or do we?
So I was pulling up the update, Pam. It was basically that Riley sent us an email this morning, said they're requesting an additional $16,000.
That was the shortfall.
All right, that is the shortfall. Okay. So at least I already hit approve on my email. So if she gets one and we make this a public announcement, then it is what it is.
Yep.
So that would be coming from essentially savings.
Yep. Yeah, the general fund.
Right. And technically, it was the amount that was budgeted anyway. It's just coming from a different source.
Yep.
Okay, any questions about that?
No.
None here.
Eric, just to catch you up, we talked about the Mazda maintenance agreements, decided that option one was best for us, so please build that into the budget.
Alrighty.
All right, so liquid fuels, we're good on Conowanga request and the municipal police departments. It's really all one. This has been the ongoing conversation about how we help the municipalities. I had proposed in the spreadsheet that you all got from Riley in advance of the last commissioners meeting, so 2 weeks ago, that we support the municipalities by giving them a portion of their revenue loss. So that ended up being, I believe, 57,000 from what would have been CARES Act money, but now general fund for the city. And I want to say something like $7,000 for Youngsville Borough, and then this $16,000 for Conowanga Township. So the discussion point is, I believe the businesses that applied through SPG roughly got 25% of what their request was on average. So I guess that's my recommendation. Like what the city was able to approve was a couple $100,000. So your options are don't approve anything, approve the recommendation, or change the percentage.
Okay, so just to be clear, what is the recommendation again? The amount?
Right, so I had emailed a couple weeks ago forwarding what came from the municipalities in terms of what they could say they lost in 2020 due to EIT and LST loss. I took that and multiplied it by a quarter. And so that the question is, do you want to adopt that policy, or in the last couple of weeks, did you come up with something else that you want to do?
I'm fine with that.
Tricia, any thoughts?
That's fine. That's fine.
I mean, it's not going to make them whole, but it's a nod.
Put that on Wednesday's agenda.
Well, sure. Wouldn't hurt to vote on it. Okay, so that'll be the proposal. I'll work it up. 2021 budget. We had tabled the budget so that we could all do some research on various aspects. At this time, I'd ask if there's anything you want to discuss. Any questions for Eric?
I don't know. I've tried to review everything as thoroughly as I can, and I feel comfortable with what's been presented at this point. The only thing that I have individually is having a discussion as to whether we make an allocation specifically for COVID rather than just having like kind of a catch-all contingency. Could do it that way, I suppose. I think it would be easier if we just had a budget item that was COVID, and just put 100,000 in it, and then put savings as the revenue source. And then if we don't spend it, then we don't spend it. If we need to, then we can just allocate it specifically from the COVID line item.
Eric, any thoughts on that?
We can add a 100,000, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, you could add 100,000 to the interfund transfer revenue line item, and then just add 100,000, create a new expense line item, GL number for any COVID related costs in the budget. So it'll just be a revenue plus 100, expenditure plus 100, and a wash. So we can do that, and then anything next year can go flush right into that account if you want.
Yeah, and I think the other reason to do that is that there is a chance that there'd be more stimulus money from the Fed And if we put all our care or COVID related expenses into that account line item, it'd be easier to track leading up to any reimbursement we could potentially get.
I'll add the expense on under his department, on the public safety, so it'll be there.
And that sounds good to me, and I am assuming that $100,000 would relate to, you know, more protective equipment and those types of things.
Yeah, it would be for anything that's deemed as COVID pandemic related expenditures.
And if those are budgeted, can we still use stimulus money to pay for those?
Great question.
Yeah.
You mean new?
New money. That's a
Like
great
if
point.
you get some from the state from next year, you mean?
Well, the stimulus bill that passed last night, I mean, if that, for instance, has the same rules as the CARES Act money had, then I think Tricia's point is if we budget for it, then we're not going to be able to use the money. But we'd have to use it in different ways.
Well, then it would be cleaner then if you wanted to then just add 100,000 instead of having a separate line of, and literally call it CARES COVID. Just have it
Right.
as a contingency item in the budget. Just add it to contingency, just a little bit extra there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, like in the sense that the money that we got, the CARES money had a thing in it that specifically said it had to be an unbudgeted COVID related expense. And the thing is I would like to think that Congress wouldn't be dumb enough to pass something that would go out and have that on it in 2021, but
I think you just answered your own question there.
Yeah. Usually I'm the one saying that.
yeah, gosh, my head hurts just thinking about this. So yeah, so I guess to Tricia's point, I suppose if you were going to cover all your bases, I suppose you'd just stick with the contingency and then put it in, you know, and if stuff comes up, we put it in there.
I mean,
I think
I agree with that for any unforeseen stuff. We do know some of the expenses that we're going to have in 2021, and we have budgeted appropriately in the EMA budget for more PPE and for consulting professional services time. We increased those, correct, Eric?
Yeah, I would keep it as vague as possible. We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into something.
that was my only concern, yeah.
Okay.
So what's the contingency line item at today?
It's at 171.
Pretty healthy.
That's pretty good.
I mean, based on the last, we should be okay with that, but we can certainly add a little bit more.
I think I mean, our budget's balanced, so I think that's fine.
I agree.
Then the last thing I'd ask is, Eric, in advance of Wednesday, could you do a little more research into whether we should be making a budget adjustment for the 2020 budget as it pertains to receiving the $3 million and its allocation?
Yeah, that's something that you could answer by emailing CNA because they would know.
I'm sorry, I missed that. 2020 budget, making an adjustment to the budget because we received CARES Act money?
That's correct.
No, because my understanding is no, because we set that up as a separate revenue fund that has nothing to do with the general fund reports budget.
Okay, can you just make sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you'd have to also get some clarity because obviously we're too late in the year to reopen the budget. So, but my assumption is if the DNA had a concern about that, they would have addressed that with us already.
I would think.
Yeah, you want some clarity on that.
I should have an answer today on that.
I mean, the other thing then is there any moves that you need to make within the 2020 budget? You know, like I believe you have the authorization to move things within a departmental budget, but if you need to draw something from contingency into, you know, whatever sheriff's wages or something like that, you need the commissioners to do that. So just, could you just look over the 2020 actuals and make sure that everything was within a couple percent? I mean, nothing's like spent more than 101%.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that this afternoon, today and tomorrow.
All right. Any other budget related questions, discussion?
Nothing here.
Okay, so Eric, can you, just for our clarity, send out again, I know you've already done it, but could you send out again the list of amendments that you made since we put the budget out for review and the what we're actually be voting on Wednesday?
Yep, I'll do so.
Awesome. Anything else? All right. Any policy, procedure, projects?
I have one
updates?
question on your, you might have discussed this, but your Mazda quotes. In the PDF had 3 pages. One was the option one was option 2, and then there's a third sheet that was for something else. Was that just something we're not doing?
I think
The third sheet is for the Hickory Street building.
Right, did you guys plan on doing that?
And we're going to do option 1 on first sheet.
Yeah,
The
I'm talking about the
8500.
third sheet. I'm talking about the Hickory Street. That's $3,000 a year. Did you guys want that in the budget too?
No, yeah, so there's no option on that, so that would be incorporated in it. So it would be option 1 plus the third sheet.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
I think that's a smaller system, so there's less.
Okay, so the agenda for Wednesday, we have, of course, our annual Christmas proclamation and Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. For new business, actually, for old business, we can cut the CARES out. For new business, we got a CYS schedule, certification of county funds for farmland preservation. We'll at least announce the liquid fuels. Those next 2 items, Pam, could really just go under municipal support. And we've got the budget. Oh, and then what are we doing about talk?
About what?
Well, that was part of the list of amendments that Eric had. So it was just to cover the expense incurred for the 3 buses they already have.
Didn't the amount change though? Wasn't it supposed to be, I think you had sent around a number like around 13 grand?
13,600 is what I added to the budget.
Okay, then you had it correctly.
So that actually is incorporated into the budget and can be removed as a line item.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't include it as an agenda item. It's just a part of the budget.
Right.
Okay. I will be adding, I just got the PA7 agreement.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and add that. And then I'm not sure if we're gonna have agreements in hand by next week, or excuse me, by Wednesday, but I'm aware of a couple of professional services agreements that we may need to put on there. One pertains to hiring 1099 for a department that had an emergency request. And that has to do with the need for that position has to do with HIPAA, so I won't mention specifics, but there's an office that just needs a temp worker basically. And then the other thing I don't think we'll have ready by then, so I'm not worried about it. And by the way, under old item of discussion, we should put it just came to my mind and it left. There was something we discussed at our last meeting that needed to get transferred over to old business.
Is that the radio use agreement?
Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah, so let's add that.
Okay.
Anything else that needs to go on the agenda for Wednesday?
All looks good to me.
Okay. Commissioner schedule. I'll be around today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And then obviously we have off Thursday, Friday, and I'm intending to not come to the courthouse, hopefully at all, next week. I haven't taken any kind of a meaningful vacation in 2020. So I would like to. If Ken or public safety needs something, obviously I'll jump in the truck and head down there. My idea of the last week of the year. So note in your schedules.
Lots of,
Tomorrow and Wednesday especially, we're going to be distributing the first round of materials for the online worker program. So the morning I'll be spending a lot of time on that, and then that's it for the rest of the week. The rest of the week I tend to spend drowning in eggnog and eating enough chocolate to kill a small horse. So that's it.
that's lovely.
Any other general discussion?
Oh,
Jeff, do you, if you need help on Tuesday or Wednesday, just let me know what we can help with as it relates to this. Rick and I are
Yeah.
available.
yeah, after I get out of this meeting, I'm sending an email around to the Lions Club just to get them all lined up. So I'll just copy everybody with that.
Okay.
Because basically we're going to have 6 groups. I shouldn't say groups, but groups of material, and then people will drive them in their car and deliver them to each individual institution. So.
Okay.
I'm not aware of the need to go into executive session today. However, go ahead and make the announcement now that we're going to be meeting with the solicitor on Wednesday. And also, that'll be just his general monthly update on all legal matters that we didn't get earlier because he had to cancel. So this is just the normal monthly one. And we'll also discuss a personnel matter in the afternoon. All right, anything else?
Sounds good.
Have a great day then.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Holly Jolly Christmas.
Bye.